In order to elude the pursuit of the police, the man secretly hid in a truck filled with sand. However, during the security check, the police didn't suspect anything due to the truck carrying sand, and they let it pass without incident. But to their surprise, the police climbed onto the truck, holding a wooden stick in their hands, stabbing into the pile of sand repeatedly. They continued until they were certain no one was hiding inside. Satisfied, they left. Little did they know, the fugitive they were chasing was hiding right beneath their feet, sustaining his breath through a straw. He stayed hidden until the truck left the checkpoint. And then Tyshawn crawled out from the sand. By hitching a ride on the truck, he quickly arrived at a small village, intending to find a tool to unlock the handcuffs at a farmer's house. To his surprise, he couldn't find any tools, and was discovered by the farmer's dog. Fortunately, during his escape, he spotted a bicycle. It allowed him to evade the chasing dog. However, he soon encountered a setback. With his hands restrained, he couldn't ride the bicycle for long and gave up. But on a nearby lawn, he noticed someone camping by the road. Silently, he stole some clothes that were hanging out to dry. While stealing the clothes, he heard the sound of a cutting machine, coming from a nearby small factory. When the workers took a break, he seized the opportunity and stole the cutting machine. Carrying the stolen clothes and tools, Tyshawn found a secluded farmhouse. In a storage shed on the farm, he cut off the handcuffs from his hands. Without the shackles of the handcuffs, he finally managed to get a peaceful sleep. Until the next day, Mount Tai was awakened by the noise outside the door. He looked up. It turned out to be an old lady catching chickens. And now Mount Tai was almost starving. So, in order to have a meal, Mount Tai immediately left the warehouse, pretending to be a lost tourist nearby. And then he had a good meal of chicken at the old lady's place, until half a chicken was gone. He finally regained some strength. However, just as Mount Tai was chatting with the old lady, the village chief suddenly arrived here. To avoid getting caught, Mount Tai quickly ran into the woods. And after receiving the information, the police immediately arrived here. They sealed off the mountain where Mount Tai was, and then conducted a thorough search towards the mountaintop. Meanwhile, hitmen sent by the gang to assassinate Mount Tai also arrived here. After a search of 7 to 8 hours, Mount Tai was increasingly surrounded by the police. Just as he was about to escape down the mountain under the cover of darkness, he was spotted by the search team. With no other choice, Mount Tai had to run towards the mountaintop again. Watching the tightening circle of the encirclement below, he knew he was about to be captured. However, just as Mount Tai felt despair, there was a sudden explosion below. The search team members rushed towards the explosion site, and Mount Tai took this opportunity to escape from the chaos. But he hadn't run far. He was tripped by a hitman from the gang. Soon, the hitman held a knife to his neck. Wu Meishu's digital camera. Where? Heard the hitman mention Wu Meishu. It's only then that Mount Tai remembered. A few days ago, Wu Meishu was indeed in a rush and pawned a camera with him. So Mount Tai pretended to feel his own pockets. The hitman, seeing this, thought the camera was in Mount Tai's pocket. When he was about to grab it, Mount Tai took the opportunity to push the hitman away and kicked him down the slope. Then Mount Tai ran to the foot of the mountain and found a car. He took the clothes and hat of a young search team member and disguised himself as a member of the search team. He successfully caught a bus to the county seat. After arriving in the county seat, Mount Tai discovered a mother and daughter in a house without a man. So he tied them up and relied on the leftover sweet potatoes to fill their stomachs. But just as they finished eating, he remembered when he was threatened by the hitman earlier. He had a scratch on his neck, and his daughter's doctor had told him to avoid infection in case of a bone marrow transplant. Thinking about his daughter's life depending on his bone marrow, Mount Tai became anxious. He urgently asked the girl who was tied up if there were any antibiotics at home, but the girl told him that this kind of wound only needed to be cleaned and covered with a band-aid. Following the girl's advice, Mount Tai took a shower at the girl's house and applied a band-aid. In the middle of the night, when the mother and daughter fell asleep, Mount Tai suddenly remembered the hitman. He asked about the camera. He remembered that in a hurry. He brought the camera back home, and his best friend took it out to take photos. Now all he needs to do is find the camera. Maybe he can clear his name. So the next morning, Tyron changed his hairstyle to a more mature look and put on his father-in-law's clothes and wore his reading glasses, finally disguising himself as a businessman, and got on the bus back home.